This is one of those things where personally meaningful goals are going to be the thing that bridge the gap between your skill set and your mindset and help you push through those changes. That's not to say that motivation through your goals is the be all and end all. It is the start. It is the spark. You have to consistently, with discipline, feed that fire through the skills and work that you do. The other thing in summary of all of this, if it isn't written down, it isn't real. It's not measured, it's not shared, then you're less likely to make those things happen. So if there's anything that you remember from this, is write it down, share it with someone else, make your regular reports to them. The rest will start to fall in place. And then finally, this is a continuous process. This is actually a process that I go through with my husband. If not we go through it every year, but sometimes we go through it every 6 months. Or significant events, like at our anniversary, we talk about what do we want the next year to look like for us. On our birthdays, which I just had one, we talk about, all right, what does the next year look like? What do I want to be able to say I've been able to do before the big 5-0? These are the kinds of things to remember because this is a continuous process. You are a continuous work in progress, and so are your goals. All right. So the last thing is, when you've gotten an idea of what your goals are, create some kind of a reminder for yourself and a visual reminder or whatever works for you. I've had people who've taken and put in sticky notes on their monitors so that they can remember it. I've had others who had pictures of their loved ones that are looking at them that they're taking care of as a result of this. I personally, if you could see over my shoulder here, you would see that I have this big photo of a pier going out into the water with the sun setting behind it because I want to be able to be someplace on the water at all times. So create a visual reminder for yourself. It could even be a certain scent. Time for some questions and answers. A few that I frequently get though. One is, I just want to improve. Isn't that enough? If I just want to be a better version of myself, isn't that enough to motivate me? Yes. And by understanding what that looks like and writing it down and sharing it with someone else, you get to solidify what that actually is. Sometimes I've had people actually do the exercise of writing their own obituary. What would they want people to say about them when they're no longer here? That's one way that you can start to write down your goals, though maybe a little bit morbid. All right. Then finally, one of the other questions that I often get is there a wrong way to do this? Or is one goal better than the other? I mentioned earlier that extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation and how they work differently. And it's not to say that one is good and one is not. But what it does say is that it depends on the type of task that you're doing as to the type of motivation that's going to work best. If, for example, you just need to make a lot more money and the picture of the fancy car in front of you is what's going to motivate you to do that, that's fine. That's great if it's personally meaningful to you. I was in a workshop once and I had one of the attendees say, well, you know, my personal meaningful goal is that I want to get a jet. And I'm like, oh no, have we got a Grant Cardone in the room? But we didn't. And so when I started asking him some more questions, he said, well, the reason that I want to get a jet, it's not about the stature of having a jet. It's that my wife doesn't like to fly. And she won't go on a commercial plane because she's scared to death of flying. And the only way that she'll fly is with me. And so if I ever want to take her anywhere or have, you know, trips or events or friends that we want to visit, I have to go and rent a plane, which is getting very expensive. It would actually be less expensive if I just bought my own plane that I could then fly her around everywhere. So even though it was a jet, it was still something personally meaningful to him. So there is no good, bad, or ugly as long as it doesn't harm others. All right. Last most frequently asked question I get is, I'm not motivated by money, so how do I measure my goal? I'm not motivated by money either, but I am motivated by the freedom and the independence and the options and choices that it gives me to travel, to get my home off of the grid, to make sure that my kids will be well off after I'm gone. It's not about the money. It's about what the money allows me to do.